We're going to go ahead and get started with the program. Go ahead and continue to eat, and we'll just continue on with the program. We want to give Ball State Catering a hand for this wonderful meal. They've done an outstanding job. I work here at Ball State in dining, so I can vouch for the meal that you've just had. Amen. So at this time, we're going to have a greeting from our president of the Collective Coalition of Concerned Clergy, none other than Pastor Kevin Woodgett.
We say good morning to everyone. I'm going to ask all of the clergy, Collective Coalition of Concerned Clergy, to stand at this time. Wherever you're at, come on, give them a hand. Give them a hand. Amen. On behalf of the Collective Coalition of Concerned Clergy, I greet you today as we celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King was one of the pivotal leaders of the American Civil Rights Movement. Dr. King also was a Baptist minister, one of the few leadership roles available to the African American male in that time. Dr. King raised public consciousness of civil rights movements and established himself as one of the greatest orators in U.S. history. Today, we salute his work as well as his passion for equality. It is our hope that through these events, all will gain a greater respect for one another and grow in the days to come, as we have nothing to lose but our chains, past, present, and future. God bless you. We thank you for coming.
At this time, we're going to have a welcome from our university president's wife, Jennifer Mearns, at this time.
Well, good morning. I know I'm a poor excuse for my husband, but I'll do the best I can. So, it's my pleasure and a privilege to be here for my first Martin Luther King community breakfast, so I appreciate you including us. My husband had some minor surgery last week and still recovering, so I'm here with you. So this morning we celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, but also the value of diversity in our partnership between the Muncie and Ball State communities. I want to thank all of you who are committed to this partnership for joining us this morning. Jeff especially wanted me to thank the Collective Coalition of Concerned Clergy for its role in helping to plan today's events. He is grateful that he has gotten to know its members and through our university's Better Together initiative, and is looking forward to collaborating more in the new year. So I'm just going to read Jeff's remarks because I think he does a nice job of speaking. So at Ball State, we believe diversity and inclusion are essential to our welcoming community. We are committed to attracting and retaining diverse faculty, staff, and student body, and that commitment is celebrated and reaffirmed in our institution's Beneficence Pledge, a pledge that articulates our values and asks that we treat each person in the Ball State community with civility, courtesy, compassion, and dignity, and to value the intrinsic worth of every member of our community. I'd like to think that if Dr. King were alive, he would support the values of our Beneficence Pledge. He was a man who understood the purpose of an education, a man who decades ago, in a piece he wrote in 1947 for the Morehouse College student newspaper, said that intelligence was not enough, that intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. I believe in this same goal, just as I believe at Ball State we are accomplishing this goal, because we are about more than educating our students. We are about encouraging them to lead meaningful lives that reflect their commitment to service and to their neighbors, regardless of their race, sex, or religious creed. Our program was made possible thanks to the hard work and dedication of the many faculty, staff, and students in our campus community who are committed to our exemplary diversity inclusion initiatives. Of course, I believe there's more we can and must do to continue the work of creating a more inclusive culture on our campus. That work is hard. It requires us to reflect candidly on our preconceptions and our predispositions, but if each of us can help to create more inclusive cultures with the people we meet each day, then I believe we can continue to create a more just society, which is what Dr. King wanted us all to strive for. Thank you for attending today's breakfast and for being a partner in our journey toward justice and peace.
Thank you, Ms. Mearns, for that wonderful welcome. At this time, we're going to have a proclamation from Senator Joe Donnelly. He couldn't be with us, but his assistant is here, Marlene Black. Say.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for including Senator Donnelly in your celebration here today. He was sorry he couldn't be here. He is up in Northwest Indiana, but he asked me to share these words with you. Today, our country celebrates the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King was a tireless leader and pioneer in the civil rights movement who dedicated his life to working for justice, peace, and equal opportunity for all. He led a movement that changed all of our lives for the better, and his legacy continues to influence and inspire us every day. Dr. King's insistence on nonviolent and peaceful expression should act as an example to us all. He showed us how effective we can be when we push for change graciously, when we disagree with respect, and when we treat others as we would want to be treated. This April will mark the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's tragic assassination. As we reflect on the last 50 years, we must remember his message and the importance of service to our communities and to our country. We each have a role to play, and whether that role is large or small, we can make a difference. We can accomplish more when we work together. Thank you for celebrating the life and vision of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today and for all that you do to spread his word. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another proclamation coming from our Honorable Mayor, Dennis Tyler, City of Muncie.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's a great morning, even there is a little bit of snow out there. The streets are getting cleaned. We do have power outages on the south side of Muncie, but we're working to get them restored just as quickly as possible. So please bear with I&M and AEP as they're trying to get that done. I would like to make one little comment. You know, this is a very special day, ladies and gentlemen. This is kicking off such a very, very special week. And we kicked this week off with a Saturday that we honored 129 Muncie Community and Delaware County Community School students with the MLK Student Citizenship Award. Now, just think about that, ladies and gentlemen. What was so special about those 129 young men and women was the kids that were walking across the stage. Some were gifted and talented. Some had special needs. But all of them were celebrating the diversity of our community. And I think that's what this week is all about, and I think that that's what Dr. King would be so proud of as he was looking down and watching those kids walking across that stage, was the diversity that was there that day and being recognized. Muncie's in a pretty good place. Can we do better? Yes, we can. But Muncie is really in a pretty good place, in the way that we celebrate each other. So thank you all for being here today on that. And it is my honor to read a proclamation. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a dedicated advocate for justice and equality for all God's children. And whereas 49 years after his death, Dr. King's powerful and compelling words continue to live on, inspiring many who share his dream, strength, and willingness to challenge all of America to obliterate the impediments and to live united. And whereas in 1983 it became law that the third Monday in January be designated a federal holiday in honor of Dr. King. The observance of this holiday began in 1986. In 2000, 17 years after the law's official passage, all states observed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a federal holiday. And whereas Dr. King's toil for civil rights and noble quest for equality for all Americans deserves to be celebrated, his advocacy for nonviolence, compassion, inclusion, respect, universal equality, and justice for all continues to serve as a profound model to unite all people while breaking down the barriers that have divided us as a nation. And whereas the City of Muncie endeavors to eliminate racism and all forms of discrimination by encouraging diversity and equality for all its citizens. Now therefore I, the Honorable Dennis Tyler, Mayor of this great city of Muncie, Indiana, do hereby proclaim this day in honor of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. By this action, let it be known that I, as Mayor of the City of Muncie, urge all citizens to observe this day and every day with an unfounded commitment to equality, tolerance, service, and justice in our community in honor of Dr. King. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Muncie to be affixed on this 15th day of January, 2018. God bless all of you for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Tyler. I seen Mayor Tyler on the bike trails a couple of months ago. My wife and I and another neighbor, and he stopped and he talked to us, and he was asking us where we were riding to, and we said we're just riding a few blocks, but the mayor was all decked out. He had his helmet on and a nice bike, and he looked like he was about ready to ride to Richmond. And he told us, he said, I want to ride with you guys someday, and we said, oh, that'd be fine. And as he took off, we was like, I don't know if we can ride with the mayor. He looks serious out here. But we thank and praise God for him. At this time, we're going to have a musical selection from Miss Synovia Garrett. Synovia Garrett is a 26-year-old Ball State alum and former MLK Junior Citizenship Award recipient. As a believer and creative entrepreneur from Muncie, Indiana, Synovia now lives in Philadelphia, where she is the creator of the Pack-Like community. Her life mission is to improve the holistic well-being of human beings. She has set out to achieve this by fostering a community that values encouraging you to be who you want to see shine in the world. She believes that this can be achieved through storytelling, authenticity, courage, and vulnerability. She is a singer, songwriter, poet, and soon to be first generation Masters of Arts degree recipient from Eastern University in May of 2018. Give her a hand, amen, as Synovia Garrett comes to us with a selection.
Good morning. I always like to take the mic, so I have to put my hands behind my back. All right, go ahead.
Visions that can change the world, trapped inside an ordinary girl. She looks just like me, too afraid to dream out loud. And though it's simple, your idea, it won't make sense to everybody. You need courage now if you're gonna persevere. To fulfill divine purpose, you gotta answer when you're called. So don't be afraid to face the world against all odds. Keep the dream alive, don't let it die. If someone deep inside keeps inspiring you to try, don't stop and never give up. Don't never give up on you. Don't give up. Every victory comes in time. Work today to change tomorrow. It gets easier. Who's to say that you can't fly? And every step you take, you get closer to your destination. Can you feel it now? Don't you know you're almost there? To fulfill divine purpose, you gotta answer when you're called. So don't be afraid to face the world against all odds. Keep the dream alive, don't let it die. If something deep inside keeps inspiring you to try, don't stop and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Sometimes life can place a stumbling block in your way, but you gotta keep the faith. Bring what's deep inside your heart to the light and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Don't. Who holds the pieces to complete the puzzle? The answer that can solve a mystery. Yeah, yeah. The key that can unlock your understanding. It's all inside of you. You have everything you need. Oh, so keep the dream alive, don't let it die. If something deep inside keeps inspiring you to try, don't stop and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Sometimes the light can place a stumbling block in your way, but you gotta keep the faith. Bring what's deep inside your heart, yeah, your heart to the light, and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Don't give up. Don't give up. No, no, no. Don't give
Thank you, Zenobia. Wonderful. We thank her for that wonderful selection. At this time, we're going to have the MLK Youth Recognition. We have Dr. Stephen Ball, Superintendent of Muncie Community Schools, and Assistant Principal, and Director of Diversity and Community Service, Muncie Community Schools, Rhonda Ward, at this time.
Good morning, everybody. I think I speak from Ms. Ward that we're both very happy to be here this morning. I do want to quickly mention the mayor did notice that, or identify that we had awarded 129 students who were recognized on Saturday, but we also awarded and recognized one adult. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask Ms. Phelps to stand up and take a bow. Dylan Phelps is the assistant superintendent for the Muncie Community Schools and my right-hand person, and she keeps me out of trouble. Though I will say this morning I was a little offended because she didn't say hello to me when I walked in. She just went right to my daughter. And then she goes, well, you know, she's more important. And I said, well, that's definitely true. The other thing is there's a little red card on your tables talking about 2 programs for the Week of Christian Unity Prayer this week. And I just want to warn you that I don't know if many of you have heard Father Dave Hellman speak before, but he's my pastor, and he always speaks right at me, so I warn you about that. I'm not sure how he does that, but he's going to be at Pastor Woodgett's Church of the Living God here on the 18th, and if you have the opportunity to go and hear Father Dave, I just think he's a great guy. He's been wonderful to my family. But why I'm really here is to recognize the students, seniors in high school this year. And so on behalf of the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Planning Committee and the superintendents throughout Delaware County, I get to congratulate all of the top academic seniors. The students being recognized this morning are seniors and were selected for this honor due to their outstanding academic achievements. The certificates that Ms. Ward is going to hand out read, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Outstanding Academic Achievement Award, awarded to so-and-so of whichever school. We salute and congratulate you. The Collective Coalition of Concerned Clergy, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee, Monday, January 15th, 2018. When I call each student, I'd like for the student to come forward to receive their certificate. We'd also, if their parents are with them, would like their parents and their administrators to stand and be recognized as well. So first, from the Burris Laboratory School, Principal is Dawn Miller. Ivy Anderson. Riley Harmon. Russell Harmon. Coley Taberson. From Muncie Central High School, Chris Walker is the principal. Alicia Bell. Javier Oniete. Astra Simpson. And Kelby Stallings. From Cowan High School, Principal Patrick Bloom, who was unable to be here today. Brian Alt. DeMarcus Bell. Gavin Ellis. And Cameron Stanley. From Daleville Junior Senior High School, Eric Douglas is the principal there. Evan Heilbert. and Grace Teague. From Yorktown High School, Stacy Brewer is the principal. Luke Avea. Indira Brown. Carly Pettigrew. And Madison Smallstig. From Wapahani High School, Principal Mark Fahey, Lucas Henson, Alex Herbst, and Amaya Smith. Is there anybody at this time who had been identified as a scholar who didn't check in, and so therefore we didn't know they're here? No, we got everybody. Again, then congratulations to all of our top academic students. Thank you.
Let's give them another hand for their outstanding work. At this time, we're going to have the introduction of our speaker. We're going to have Watasha Barnes Griffin, the Executive Director of the YWCA, come and introduce our speaker.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I am Watasha Barnes Griffin, and I serve as the chair of the Martin Luther King Dream Team organization. We are a group of individuals in the community who are tasked with keeping Dr. King's dream alive, and we do that through our MLK Youth Citizenship Awards. We have the Freedom Bus. We do the Walk of Fame in Hegan Park. We have a February Black History Month kickoff, and we just continue all throughout the year to honor and celebrate Dr. King. But this morning I have the honor and the privilege to be before you to introduce our speaker for the morning, Bishop Jerry L. Maynard. So when the planning committee was talking about who we would like to have come and represent on this morning, we talked about a document that was drafted 50 years ago, where a group of African American leaders got together on May the 25th, 1967, at the Hotel Roberts to look at what the African American community needed and did not have. And so 50 years later, we're still looking at that document. And so we decided to call out to Bishop Maynard because he was in that meeting. He was an important part of that movement. And so when we reached out to him, I kind of begged his daughter a little bit, but he graciously accepted, and he's honored to be here. And so Bishop Jerry L. Maynard is prelate of the 4th Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of Tennessee, and he serves as a senior pastor of Cathedral of Praise Church of God in Christ. Bishop Maynard completed his graduate and postgraduate studies in psychology and social sciences at Indiana University and the Doctor's Division of Crossroads Bible College. A native of Indiana, Bishop Maynard served as the director of the Muncie, Indiana Human Rights Commission from 1967 to 1970. He served as a member of the Indiana and United States Civil Rights Commission from 1970 until 1981. And he served on the President's Domestic Policy Committee from 1977 to 1983. He is the recipient of the highest civilian award of the state of Indiana, which is the Sagamore of the Wabash. He is a noted and prolific speaker. Bishop Maynard has lectured at Ball State University, Taylor University, Indiana State University, Crossroads Bible College, and Clark University. And he has keynoted the nationally known Soul Winners Conference. And he told me, just go up there and say Bishop Maynard. But Bishop Maynard, a pioneer in ministry, utilizes new technology and the media to reach the masses. The Word of Life Ministries daily radio broadcasts, national weekly telecast, and website are ways in which Bishop Maynard delivers his message of maximizing your potential. Bishop Maynard is married to Dr. Mary T. Maynard, retired Deputy Superintendent of Schools in DeKalb County, Georgia, and together they have a blended family of 5 children. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Bishop Jerry L. Maynard. So I will be giving him, my husband Shaka and I will be giving him a ride back to his hotel. So I'm sure I'll hear about what I didn't do right when we get in the car.
You are a prophetess. Thank you so very much to Pastor Kevin Woodgett, president of the Collective Coalition of Concerned Clergy, and to the wife of this distinguished president of Ball State University, Mrs. Mearns, to the mayor of the city of Muncie, Indiana, Dennis Tyler, and to this person who ignored what I asked her to do, Ms. Griffin, to all of the clergy who are present, all of the persons who represent the city government and county government, all the people who represent Ball State University, and all of the people who are present today. It is my pleasure to not only be back home in Indiana, but more specifically to be here at Ball State University in the great city of Muncie, Indiana. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we all marvel at what he did, what he represented, and what accomplishments that many of us have received and benefited because of his efforts and the things that we hold so dear to us, and the challenges that were before us, and then our acceptance of those challenges. I just want to tell you something that happened to me. I was very much into what he was doing and followed him and others at that time. When he died, it was devastating, particularly for the reason, and there were some pastors of this city, and one person who was a city spokesperson. His name was Robert Marshall, a pastor Seals. We got in the car to go to the funeral, and we drove all night. We stopped in a small town in Georgia, and we had to go to the back of the building as we tried to enter into the front door of a restaurant. We had to go to the back of the building, and we went to the back, and we sat, looked like a storage area, ordered our food, ate. We were all hungry, and so we were more concerned about the food than we were about the ambiance of that restaurant. We left there and went to Atlanta after having driven all night, and we went to the Pascal Hotel. During that time, other hotels did not necessarily like to serve people who were permanently tan, and so we went over to where they were holding the body and reviewing the body. And I said to the preachers with whom I traveled, you know, we traveled all night. We shouldn't have to get in back of the line. The line was through the church. down the street, around the corner, around another corner. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going up there, I'm going to tell them. We traveled all night, and please let us get into the front of the line. And I saw this young man with whom I felt some sense of familiarity, and I said, you know, brother, we have traveled all night to get here, and we would like for you to let us come to the head of the line. He said, where do you say you came from? I said, Muncie, Indiana. He said, do you realize that there are people behind you who came from Africa, who came from Asia, who came How well put and how well one can be humbled just by the expression of someone when one is seeking to rise above the level where they were. I soon understood the great impact that Martin Luther King Jr. had upon not just the United States of America, but the entire world. What a day, what a week, and what a man. I think we ought to give him another applause. I was asked to speak, and again, I'm appreciative of the fact to come home. I know that there are many people who could be here, but I appreciate the time that I lived in Indiana. I appreciate the time that I spent in Muncie and all of the things that happened to me. There were good things and there were bad things, but when I put them together, the good and the bad, it comes out good. Isn't it great that you can mix things together? And when you mix things together, they come out good. I want to talk a little bit about that because I think that diversity is extremely important. That we may differ in how we look. We may differ in what we wear. We may differ as it relates to the accomplishments of education, employment. But those differences should not divide us. They should bring us together. Because there's one thing that I found out, and that is that blood is not black, blood is not white, blood is not green, blood is red. And it's about who you are within that causes you to be who you are that others see. If you haven't anything within that causes you to advance beyond where your station in life was at the time of birth and even through maturity, then there's a problem. I think that we have to understand that we need to spend more time working with our inner being than we do so much with our exterior being. We love our clothes, we love our hats, we love our makeup, and all those things. We like to go to the places where we dine. But the truth of the matter is that the restaurant does not make you. Thank God for the institutions that we go to. Thank God for Ball State University. But Ball State University helps you. But you have to be a person who has the desire to advance beyond a level of mediocrity. And you have to be a person who is willing to become an agent of change in order to have change within the society in which you live. That change will not come as long as you are stagnant in your past. You have to move out of your past into your present so that you may advance to your future. And that is, in my opinion, what is necessary here today. As I stand before you after having driving in 0.1% of snow. That's an inside joke. One of the pastors told me that that's all you were going to get today. And so for me to come on to, I just happened to call him last evening. I said, I've already gone through 2 to 3 inches, so I don't know. I want to talk about past just a little bit. You can't live in past. If you live in past, you'll never enter future. So we can't live there. But I want to talk a little bit. There are some men, and I appreciate the honor that's going to be given to Hurley Goodall. Hurley Goodall was a powerful individual in the community of Muncie, Indiana. And we worked extremely hard. When I first came to Muncie, Indiana from Indianapolis, Indiana, I went to my first football game at the recreational center, and Muncie Central, I was a senior. Muncie Central was playing another team. And we came to that game, and we had to sit on the visitor side all the way to the end. We couldn't sit on the side that represented our school. A young man got up and went to get some popcorn, and somebody hollered out one of those words. I think it started with an N. And he came back and he told those of us who were there what had happened. And of course, we're young, immature, and we didn't like it. And we were outnumbered. But we decided, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to treat us like that. And so what happened was a fight broke out. And we fought. And we fought. And we fought. Then we thought, we're going to get arrested. So we ran and we ran and we ran. Went to school that next week, Monday, and it continued in the school. There were problems. It wasn't that he was called the N-word. It was what was happening at that time within our society and what was coming from within. When you're taught a certain thing, it's very difficult to leave that teaching. Argumentative persuasion works a great deal. Legislation works a great deal. But you cannot legislate love. You cannot legislate an appreciation for another human being. Laws are good as long as they can be enforced. And so we had Southside High School here. One of the worst days of my life. And I hope you don't mind me, because I'm going to get off of this, but I want to talk about this just a little bit, because I knew that proclamations would be here, and you all would talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I don't want to go that route. I could give a speech, but I don't want to. I want to talk about Muncie. May I talk about Muncie? Thank you. Southside High School. We had problems with Southside, and I went to Southside to stop a potential riot. I talked to the principal and to the teachers. And I'm there all day, all day, all day. And one of the most embarrassing times of my life was the school gets a phone call asking for me to come to the phone. We didn't have cell phones then. And I pick up the phone. Douglas Rollins, I don't know if he's here or not, but he was one of the associate pastors at the time. He says, "Pastor, you know that family's waiting for you to eulogize a funeral." one of the most embarrassing times that I had in ministry, but I was doing something that I felt was extremely important, to the extent that I forgot all about the funeral that was at our church. My thinking was the care of those students out there, to keep them from hurting each other. Yeah. I haven't gotten over that yet. That's the reason why I bring it up today. You can get so involved that to which you've been called takes a backseat, and the pressures of life causes you to ignore what your godly responsibility is. We had our young men being arrested in Muncie because of the lack of job opportunities, scholarships to school, decent housing. So through Hurley Goodall, Jerry Maynard, Robert Foster, and Mortician, his last name is Faulkner, we gathered and we decided to form an amateur football team, which eventually became a league. And we took all of the so-called nondescript persons and asked them to become a part of that team. And they did. We went to the different stores around town to get jerseys and helmets and shoulder pads and all that stuff, because we felt that we needed to bring some attention to a problem, and the problem was the lack of self-esteem, a sense of belonging, and we wanted to show that problems could not be solved by us hanging out on the corner, but we needed to become educated, not just in a structural way, but we need to be educated in learning our environment so that we could navigate successfully, and that without navigation we could negotiate. So we started that football team, and eventually we had teams in Gary, Indiana, Anderson, Indianapolis, and yes, at the Pendleton Reformatory, they had 2 football teams. And we wanted to use that if there was a necessity of bringing some sensitivity to a matter, we felt we could do it through that by not only them playing, but also us teaching. And out of that group, we were able to get jobs at Westinghouse. We were able to get jobs at the General Motors plants. We were able to get jobs at Warner Gear Division and other places in the city with those young men who people said would not amount to anything. And some of those, and I'm looking at some of you in here now, some of those are in here now and others have retired. We worked with Jim Carey and Cordell Campbell and other, the chief of police and Mayor Cooley and John Hampton in the city to try to bring some attention to what was going on in the city of Muncie. Housing was a very bad thing here. We knew about Whiteley and what was called Crosstown. I think that you either go over to 12th Avenue, and that's about as far as you could go at that time, and you had to come back on this other side, and then Whiteley was fine. We had McCullough Park, and so we were limited to what we could do. Ball State, I appreciate the information that was given and shared today and see what's going on, but even at Ball State, it was a very difficult task for us in terms of going to school because the dropout rate or the failure was quite great out here. And we just had some very difficult times in Muncie, Indiana 50 years ago. And 50 years ago, we had to talk about housing. We had to talk about employment. We had to talk about police brutality. We had to talk about social order. We had to talk about restaurants. We had to talk about hotel accommodation and all these kinds of things. that really created a problem, because whenever you do not reach out to bring people to where you are, you have in your society a cultural lag. And the cultural lag is when one phase of our society does not mesh harmoniously with the other. We cannot rise to great heights and accomplishments if everybody who is desirous does not get an opportunity to do so. Banking at that time was difficult. If you had a realtor who would sell you a house, the banks would not finance it. I remember sitting graduation, and I was told I was going to get a scholarship. And I sat there waiting for my name to be called. It was never called. I went to school the next school day, and I went to the principal's office, and I asked, what happened to the scholarship I was going to get? They decided not to give it to you. I said, why? I drank too much coffee. For those of you who understand that, you know what I'm talking about. There was a theme back at that time: if you drink coffee, it made you black. Anyway, so I had consumed too much coffee, so I didn't get the scholarship. But that was what was happening then, and that's what caused us to have the meetings that we had. I think about many people who have come out of Muncie, Indiana, who have done some very great things, irrespective of what was going on at the time, because it certainly was not unique with Muncie. It was all across the United States of America, thus the need for Martin Luther King Jr. and others beside to go out and say what they needed to do. Martin Luther King Jr. understood one thing: it didn't make any difference as to whether or not he was called doctor, if he came from an affluent family, because he understood that it was not the families of affluence that caused this nation to become what it is today. It was the families, period. Those who were poor, those who were rich, those who were affluent, those who were educated, those who were uneducated. All of us working together caused the United States of America to be what it was, or in what it is. When soldiers went to fight the wars, you didn't just have rich kids going fighting wars. You had poor kids going to fight wars. You had the educated, the uneducated. Everybody went to fight war. But the real problem that we had was when the wars were over and we came back to the United States, where we fought for freedom, there were certain ones who could enjoy the freedom for which the battles were won, and those who could not. Martin Luther King Jr. understood that. He understood it when he knew that he could not just represent those persons who were of the elites. So he went to Memphis to fight for the garbage collectors. And he went to Memphis to fight for the trash collectors. He went to Memphis to fight for those who had historically been disregarded. And he lost his life not receiving the Nobel Peace Award. He lost his life not speaking in the halls of Congress. He lost his life not speaking at Yale University and Dartmouth College or Harvard. He lost his life in a hotel that he had to stay in because the other hotels in Memphis would not accommodate blacks. Little hotel, not much to it, not much to it at all. But he lost his life because he understood that those people in Memphis needed someone who would dare stand against that which was evil. And I'm saying, as I look at you in Muncie today, we have to stand against that which is evil. When I drive in Muncie today and look around and see all of the things that are being done in this city, I see blacks living in different parts of Muncie, Delaware County. I used to live over on Twickenham Drive myself. Was one of the first coffee drinkers who lived over there. Dr. O'Neill is laughing, Bishop O'Neill is laughing because his father, he lived on the next street over, so they were right over there with us, okay. But when I drive around and I see all of this growth at Ball State, and we're certainly proud of Ball State University. We're proud of Ball State University. When I came to Muncie, the high school that I came out of while I was in Indianapolis was larger than Ball State. We had 12 buildings, Ball State had 9. We had 3,700 students, Ball State had 3,200. I went to Arsenal Technical High School in Indianapolis at that time. So I was accustomed to pass it out. Bishop Jernigan and I stood in line as we started at admissions to become a part of Ball State University. And I was so smart. Jernigan was behind me, and I said, the lady says to me, "I help you, please?" I said, "Yes, you may." I said, "I'm here to pay for my matriculation fee." She said, "What?" And Jernigan was behind me laughing. She said, "Did you mean matriculation?" I said, "Oh, yeah, that's it. That's what happened." But when I see Muncie and I see what's going on in the city of Muncie, I'm excited about what's going on in Muncie. When I was here, there were 60,000 people. Now there are 70,000 people. The population with regard to diversity is around the same, somewhere between 8 to 10%, black, somewhere between 3% for Hispanics, and somewhere around 1.5% or so for Asians. And I'm telling you this, that when you have diversity, it helps you to accomplish many kinds of things. We can understand that in sports. When we think about the people who played sports here and who went on to NBA levels, Bonzi Wells, Jim Davis, Ron Bonham, who was considered one of the greatest basketball players to come out of the Muncie school systems. Am I right? Okay, yes. Yeah, Jim Nettles, football player. Yeah. We could name a whole lot, right? But in the midst of everything that was going on at that time, these people applied themselves and they came forth, and everybody was excited about them, because when championships are won, we don't ask about the color. When that last shot is taken to help win the game, we don't ask about color. What we do is we are so thankful and so grateful that we had somebody on our team who could play as well. In real life, we have to bring ourselves to also that conclusion that it really does not matter about color, but the question is, what do you have to offer that can help me to become better? That's the reason why police departments have to reflect the diversity of your community. Fire departments, government, industry, educational communities, all have to reflect the diversity, because when somebody else, one thing about it, I know about Jesus. I'm a preacher, so now if I sound like one, that's okay. I can't be a preacher today and something else tomorrow. I'm trying my best just to speak. I haven't asked you to say amen yet. When we don't utilize what we have within our community and who we have, we shortchange ourselves, and we can ill afford that luxury. I look at these students who were honored today, and I meant to mention you earlier on because I certainly appreciate the fact that you're here. In their hands, they're going to have to take on the responsibility of continuous change within our society. It cannot start when they come to Ball State or go to IU or Harvard or Yale. It has to start within their homes. And it had to have started before today. When that mother is carrying that child, discipline starts at that point. What you read, what you eat, what you drink will shape the character of that child that you're carrying. What you teach when they're born, how you handle situations. You cannot expect people to come out of your house being, and excuse the word because I'm not saying that to anybody in here, whether you're black or white. You cannot teach racism at home and expect Ball State to change it. When I was director of the Muncie Human Rights Commission, they told me I had 3 hours. Do I still have 3 hours of it? Yeah, I appreciate that too because I drove a long way to get here. You cannot affect change by trying to change a person who's been taught so long a certain way. The thing that we have to do is remember that the most important part about an individual is that inner person. Not what you look like, but who you really are. I believe that this body that we live in is the house of who we are. Your spirit man needs to be fed. Your spirit man needs to be developed. Your spirit man needs to mature. Without the maturation of your spirit man, what you express will be the immaturity of your inner man. We cannot receive our bachelor's and master's and doctorates and expect our attitudes to change. Irrespective of what level you reach in education, if you don't have sensitivity, not only toward your fellow persons, but also a sensitivity toward yourself, things are not going to be the way they ought to be for our society. We have something good going now. Muncie is changing. There was a time, and excuse me, gentlemen, ladies, there was a time that when we met, you all wouldn't be in here because it would be kind of like, that's the wrong thing to do. Don't you go to anything like that. But to see you here is a pleasure. To see you here and attentive is a pleasure. Because we'll take who you are and your responsibilities. We will take the ministry and the ministry's responsibility. We'll take education and the responsibility of the educators, and we will take all persons who work wherever you work, and we will bring our forces together, and we will say that we are here not just for self, but we're here for the community every person in here has to understand that if I am ill and you are well, you will not experience the greatness of your wellness because of my illness. You need to try to help me to get well. So we look at where we are at Ball State, but there's some great things that we can do in Muncie, Indiana to make Muncie, Indiana even greater than what it is. Thank God for what the mayor said about what is happening in this city. But we need to stop fussing over the minute. What's the minute, Jerry? Mayor, will you get my daughter a job? That's not the problem. Your daughter's not the problem. Mayor, will you do this? Will you do this? Get us some ice cream. It's not the problem. Mayor, when there are contracts given, we would like to have some set aside. Not that we are better and should be treated better, but that we should be included. Construction, development, appointments, major positions. The problem that we have in the United States, I got how much more time? My time is up. Thank you so much. She did like that. Thank you. One of the real problems we had is that we had federal judges that were not appointed. How many know the power of federal judges? If you can't get the appointments, and we were not able to get them under Obama. It had nothing to do with Democrats and Republicans. It had something to do with people. How do we get the best to serve us? And I'm saying as Muncie looks forward to its future, bring your best to the front, irrespective of who they are. When you leave your church on Sunday morning and go to one of these other churches, just say you're going to church. You don't have to talk about I'm going to a black church or a white church. I'm just going to church. When I look at you, someone said to me the other day, and I'm closing. Someone said to me the other day, said, you know, when I look at you, Bishop, I just don't see color. I said, you know, that's kind of interesting. Because I look at myself every morning. And I see color. A bald head, a little overweight. I see myself. Our society will be great, and it will become greater when we can look at each other and don't imagine that we don't exist, but you are who you are. You look like who you look. You bring to the table what you bring. But you understand that I too should have the same opportunity. Don't change your hairstyle. I was sitting here at this table and all of us dressed differently, but that didn't keep us from communicating and enjoying one another. I'm going to say to you, if you will, do me a favor. Please look at the person next to you. Will you do that? Will you say to them, say these words to them? I am so glad to be sitting by you. I trust that the difference we have will cause us to bring together our abilities and authorities so that we can affect a positive change. This day would not have been a great day for me if you were not a part of it. Thank you for being a part.
Thank you. You may be seated. What a wonderful keynote speech. I'm here to recognize the MLK committee, and I would like everyone to do something for me for next year to, every time you see me, remind me not to keep putting myself behind the keynote speaker. So remind me of that. But the MLK committee that puts on this breakfast, they are amazing. And so we don't want to give all the names, but we want everyone from the committee, would you just please stand? And as they're all standing, so many meetings, so much work goes together, and the team is great because of the togetherness. And there's someone from the MLK committee that they're going to come right now. Mr. Bobby Steele, would you come and give us?
Good morning. I'm Bobby Steele, the director of the Multicultural Center at Ball State University. I would like to just give you an overview of the additional events and opportunities we have to celebrate Dr. King's mission. The march that we usually do, unfortunately, has been postponed this year due to weather. But although the march has been canceled, I want you to take a moment to reflect on the reasons why we march. I want you to remember those of us who marched before us to be able to give us some of the privileges that we have today. So never stop marching. Before you depart campus, please take an opportunity to view the Freedom Bus. The Freedom Bus is a mobile civil rights museum created by the MLK Dream Team and several community partners. The Freedom Bus tells the narratives of citizens in East Central Indiana who work to advance the civil rights in their communities. The Freedom Bus will be available in the rear of the Student Center on North Street until 12:30 p.m. today. The evening worship service, is at 6 o'clock p.m. at Union Missionary Baptist Church. This service will feature Dr. Frank Thomas of Christian Theological Seminary in Indianapolis, Indiana. Then I also would like to invite you to join us tomorrow, Tuesday, January 17th at 7:30 p.m. in Pruce Hall for the MLK commemorative speaker, Jasmine Rand. Rand is probably best known as attorney of the Trayvon Martin family and from her countless appearances in the media concerning this world-famous case. The National Bar Association recognized Rand as one of the nation's top 40 lawyers under 40 in the United States. Rand now shares her insight, experience, and pioneering efforts for social justice and empowerment through her extensive experience, expert teachings, and unmatched passion throughout her provoking keynotes. Check out the Unity Week's calendar on the Multicultural Center's website for more information and updates regarding Unity Week events. Lastly, I would like to share the history of the Black National Anthem. Lift Every Voice and Sing, called the Black National Anthem, was written by poet James Weldon Johnson, and then set to music by his brother John Johnson in 1899. It was first performed in public at the Johnsons' hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, as part of Lincoln's birthday on February 12, 1900, by a choir of 500 school children at the segregated Stanton School, where James Weldon Johnson was the principal. It has been adopted by the NAACP as its official song. Lift Every Voice and Sing is one of the most cherished songs of the African American Civil Rights Movement. Now I would like to invite Synovia Garrett back to the stage to lead us in Lift Every Voice and Sing. You may find the lyrics on the back of your program.
All right, for those of us who can stand or who are able to stand, can you please? And I will start with the first words, and then everybody can just join in accordingly. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the
of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
You can remain standing. I have just a few announcements and then we'll pray and dismiss. Dr. Ball eloquently spoke about the week of prayer of Christian unity. There are two services. One is Father Hellman, and on the back of it is January 24th. There's another father, not a Catholic father, but my biological father, Royce Mitchell, will be speaking on that one. So you have a 12 noon on the 18th and you have a 7 p.m. on the 24th. And then there is the MLK Scholarship Fund that we normally raise money for the night service, which will be at 6 p.m. at Christ Temple. If you're not going to be able to be at the night, at Union Missionary Baptist Church, the night service at 6 p.m. If you're not going to be able to attend that and you still want to give to the scholarship fund, you can give to John Beatty, and he will take those donations. We always have a person that we give a scholarship to. And we do want you to know that at Union Missionary Baptist Church, the doors will open at 5:30 if you want to be there early. So let's bow our heads. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time, and we thank you for this wonderful occasion celebrating this man. Thank you for the words that we heard, that if we work on the inner man and we would project that outward, that the community would be better together and we will affect change. Bless us as we leave this place, never from your presence, but also keep us protected as we go over these roads. Thank you for the city of Muncie taking care of the roads, and help us all to make it home safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
As you leave, be careful. The steps are pretty slick, so be careful as you leave. Thanks.